Now we are going to discuss the last part of topic 1, which is using another cloud-based website that are, we believe, very helpful for learning uh, programming in Python. And since I'm recording at home, so I turned off the camera. So CodingBat, we go there. This is website where there are lots of simple programming questions that you can code up and get immediate feedback. So this is created by a professor who teach introductory programming at Stanford, and I very much like his methodology of giving lots of simple exercise for people to do. There's both Java and Python. We're going to use Python. So we're going to look at the problem in warm-up 1, where I think the first 8 problems require topics that that material we covered here. The last 4 require string, which we haven't covered yet. So let's look at this sleeping yun. So here in CodingBat, what you are writing is a function. The function will take some input, and then it will need to compute the output. So when you define a function, you use this def, which stands for define in the beginning, and then followed by a function name, and then followed by a parenthesis inside their argument, and then a colon. And then the body of the function should be indented. So everything that below here that's indented will be considered part of this function definition. So in this particular case, we are given 2 arguments, whether it's weekday and whether it's vacation. So these are what we call Boolean type. Essentially, the value will be either true or false. And the logic is fairly standard. If it's a weekend, we can sleep in. If it's a vacation, we can sleep in. Otherwise, we cannot. So when there are these 2 variables, and our decision will depend on both. One way that helps is to just do a case based on one of them. So in this case, we'll just do using if. So basically, this will be this if branch will be for weekday, and then we will have an else branch for weekend. So then we can. So I think for a beginner, it's helpful to write this structure, outer if statement first, and then we fill in these 2 different branches. So if it's weekday, then whether we get sleep in will depend on vacation. So if vacation is true, we're going to return true because we can sleep in vacation. Else, if it's not vacation and it's weekday, then we need to go to work or school, so we cannot sleep in. Else, this else is corresponding with the weekend. So in weekend, we can sleep in. So it doesn't matter whether we are on vacation or not. So one thing to note about this program is if vacation is true, we are going to return true. If vacation is false, we're going to return false. So we are basically returning the value of the vacation variable. So this will be equivalent to that. So we can do it this way. So now let's submit. We click go, and it's all correct. So another way to do this program is we can start by condition on vacation. So if vacation is true, we do something else. This is when vacation is false. So if vacation is true, it turns out that we can always sleep in. So we can just return true. If vacation is false, then that depends on a weekday. If weekday is true, we will return false. So we're not in vacation and it's weekday, we cannot sleep in. else we will return true. So that's also correct. So then looking at these 4 lines, we see that what we are doing is if vacation is true, we return false. If vacation is false, we return true. So in some sense, we are returning the negation of weekday. So we can actually do that by using this operator not. So let's first see this is correct, and let's go back to the slides to explain these logical operators. So let me see whether I have explained all of this. I think, I guess I didn't explain the return part. So the return statement will end the function, and then whatever value following the return will be returned as the value of this function. So somewhere else, if you call this function, you write slip in true false, then this body of the function will be executed where weekday is true, vacation is false, and then whenever the execution encounter a return statement, the execution will end and the value will be returned. So other things I think have been explained. So yeah, so we've seen integer type before, so the value are integers. We actually implicitly use Boolean type when we use if statement. Here we make them a little bit more explicit. The Boolean type has 2 values, true and false. And there are 3 Boolean operators that you can use on this Boolean type, and or not. So this is a definition. So A and B equals true if and only if both A and B are true. A or B is equal true if and only if either A is true or B is true or both are true. And not A equals gives true if and only if A is false. And the 3 line here explain the semantics of and or not in the case of when they give a false. So A or B give false if only if both A and B are false. So we can use this not weekday here. And looking at these 4 lines, we realize what we are saying is if vacation is true, then we always return true. If vacation is not true, then we will return true if this not weekday is true. So we can use this as a we can express this using or. So replace this 4 line by saying return vacation or not weekday. So I guess intuitively this makes sense because we can slip in when either it's a vacation or it's a weekend. And the weekend means that it's not a weekday.